In 1966, Maureen Cleave published an article in a teen magazine called Datebook. In the article, she wrote about an interview she had with a rock star and a friend, John Lennon and the Beatles. What followed was a war on Lennon, a war on the Beatles, and a war on rock and roll. In the interview, Lennon said, "The Beatles were more popular than Jesus. The Christians fought back. There were mass burnings of records. Disc jockeys boycotted their music and preached their young listeners to do the same."
Don't you forget what the Beatles have said.
Lennon says it was a misunderstanding. In the months to follow, letters from teens from all over the United States were sent to Datebook in response to the article and to John Lennon. These are some of their letters.
I think the Beatles are getting so big that they just can't stand themselves.
When John Lennon said, "We're more popular than Jesus now, I don't know which will go first, rock and roll or Christianity."
To whom it may concern, I would appreciate if Datebook would make this statement straight to the Beatle John Lennon.
John should have never said what he did about Jesus. Everyone knew how he felt about religion, but now he's gone too far.
I was really shocked. I got the impression he was very conceited. He is supposed to be the smart, witty one.
The Beatles' Dear Mr. Lennon wouldn't be so popular if all these stupid teenage nonconformists didn't copy each other like a herd of sheep. Rather, follow each other.
Why can't they mind their own business and keep their mouths shut? They'd be better off.
He was being witty, but pretty stupid. The Beatles have always been my favorite group, and still are, but I hope rock and roll goes before Christianity does. The world would crack up without it. Judy Swanger, Michigan.
Beatles, my dear friend, will die out soon enough. And you, Mr. Lennon, arrogant as an eagle, with your religious remarks, will sure as hell get your wings clipped. And Datebook, I hope Mr. Lennon heard my statement. Diane Higgins, New Jersey.
15-year-old said that. People got upset, and they got upset that Lennon would say something like that and announce it for the whole world to see.
I can see why it was written. It seems more an automatic defensive jab back.
I think it was well known that he wasn't religious, and I think it was a time and age where there was a lot of controversy with people being super left-wing and coming out and protesting for love and for peace and like an agnostic, society, or at least in government, not to have religion get involved and tied up in that. It just sparked something that was already there. There was already fire there.
Their statements can be taken out of context. And, when you are a really popular artist, you're always under scrutiny of any statement you make. And do we mean as an individual, whether you are in the spotlight or not, mean everything that we say and comes out of our mouth? No.
I think it's interesting because it's like when you're a musician, when you're an artist, you're this giant thing. You're popular, you're everywhere. People have your face on their walls in their bedrooms. Like, Christians don't usually have like a poster of Jesus up on their wall. Maybe they have like a little crucifix or something hanging, and it's like, in a sense, you are like, you're putting them up there on this pedestal, like you would with religion, with like with someone who has this power or this something over you that you want, that you desire, that you think makes you feel better, whatever it is. And I mean, it's not crazy for him to have said that, because we do have there's so many John Lennon posters, imagine, everywhere, you know what I mean? The lyrics are on it, and I don't think it was crazy for him to say that at all.
I kind of agree with John Lennon that it was taken out of context. He said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus, and that was actually more true in the UK than maybe the United States. Ever since World War II ended, they were having just a decline in. People were just like sort of abandoning faith more and more in Europe.
If an artist today came out and said, "I'm bigger than Jesus," I think because it's already been done, people would kind of laugh.
I feel like it's a little bit, I wouldn't say safer to say controversial things, but no one really cares that much anymore because nobody has that kind of direct access to the entire nation's youth.
Immediately coming to mind is like Lil Wayne making the statement, "Best rapper alive." Seriously? How can you make any kind of statement like that?
I mean, lots of musicians do it.
Just craving the audience's attention, whether it be negative or positive publicity.
I don't think it would be taken as seriously. I don't think people would be as upset.
We have so many talk shows now. It'd probably be a real talk show hype for a good week, month, however long they can milk it. And then it'd probably fall off the radar.
And I mean, if you think about some of the crazy musicians and artists out there now who do all kinds of insane stuff, like half naked on stage, twerking, we're sort of desensitized to a lot of that.
And they might just do it just for shock value now, rather than what they actually believe.
It's almost to be expected at this point for someone like Miley Cyrus or Lady Gaga or someone to go out there and say, this is what I believe, this is what I think, and I'm gonna wear a meat suit.
I think it's a sign of desperation.
Well, I think artists have said similarly blasphemous things, and I think it's a little bit better tolerated now than it used to. Like Lady Gaga has had some, sort of blasphemous imagery in her stage show.
A statement like that would just come naturally to so many artists, just purely for the shock value.
I mean, instead of letters now you just get tons and tons of conversation online, back and forth, pro this, against that.
I've sent emails to smaller musicians that have emailed me back, but I feel like they communicate. It's more like a one-way thing. Like they communicate to people through blog posts or Facebook posts, and then there's just a flood of comments and things like that. And if you're lucky, they might see a question that they want to answer, but they don't necessarily have to.
Tweet, which I don't, but apparently that's pretty popular.
And so whenever they said that, like, people in America were just like, what? John Lennon thinks that the Beatles are better than Jesus or more important than Jesus. And really he was just saying, like, the Beatles have more influence over teenagers than Jesus, which is probably true then and is probably even more true now.